Admiral Kaz Thul stood at the command deck of the Imperial Dreadnought Sovereign's Wrath, his 6 eyes fixed on the tactical display that showed the approaching storm. The massive view screen displayed the edge of the Terran system, where space itself seemed to shimmer with an otherworldly energy. His 4-armed frame, built for war and conquest, trembled slightly, not from excitement, but from something the Xerian Empire had not felt in over 3 centuries: genuine fear. "Status report," he commanded, his voice barely concealing the anxiety that gnawed at his core. Lieutenant Velthar, a young officer whose silver carapace still bore the polish of the academy, approached with obvious reluctance. "Sir, our long-range sensors are detecting massive gravitational distortions along the system's perimeter. The humans, they're coming." The word humans sent a ripple of unease through the bridge crew. 3 months ago, the Empire had made what they believed was a calculated strike against Earth, a demonstration of power meant to bring the upstart species to heel. They had destroyed Lunar Base, humanity's first major off-world colony, expecting swift surrender. Instead, they had awakened something that the galaxy's greatest military minds were still struggling to comprehend. "How many ships?" Admiral Kaz Thul asked, though part of him dreaded the answer. "Sir." Velthar's voice cracked slightly. "Our computers can't get an accurate count. The formations are too dense, too organized. Preliminary estimates suggest at least 50,000 vessels." The bridge fell silent, except for the hum of life support systems. 50,000. The Empire's entire active fleet numbered barely 8,000 ships, and those were scattered across 100 systems. How had a species that had achieved interstellar travel only 2 centuries ago managed to build such a massive armada? Admiral Kaz Thul remembered the intelligence reports from before the war. Humanity was described as a young race, aggressive but disorganized. Their ships were sturdy but unremarkable, their weapons effective but unrefined. They had seemed like the perfect target for imperial expansion, technologically advanced enough to be useful, but not powerful enough to resist. The first sign that they had miscalculated came 3 weeks after Lunar Base. Human ships had begun appearing throughout imperial space, not attacking, but observing. They would emerge from hyperspace, scan imperial positions, and vanish before the Empire's forces could respond. Each encounter revealed ships that were slightly different, slightly improved from the last sighting. "Sir," the communications officer called out, her voice tight with stress. "We're receiving a transmission. It's from Earth." On screen, the view screen flickered, and the image of a human female appeared. She was elderly by human standards, her gray hair pulled back in a severe military style. Behind her, the bustling activity of what appeared to be a massive command center was visible. But it was her eyes that made Admiral Kaz Thul's blood run cold. They held the calm certainty of someone who had already won. "I am Fleet Admiral Sarah Chen of the Terran Defense Force," she began, her voice carrying across the vast emptiness of space with crystal clarity. "I believe you've been expecting us." Admiral Kaz Thul stepped forward, drawing himself up to his full, imposing height. "Human, you are vastly outnumbered. The Imperial fleet commands this sector. Surrender now, and your species may yet survive this conflict." Admiral Chen's expression didn't change. "Admiral Kaz Thul, isn't it? I've read your service record. Impressive victories against the hegemony, the collective wars, the Rim rebellions." She paused, and for the first time, a slight smile touched her lips. "Tell me, in all those conflicts, did you ever face an enemy that treated war as an engineering problem?" Before Kaz Thul could respond, his tactical officer's voice cut through the bridge. "Admiral, ships are decloaking, they're everywhere." The view screen split, showing multiple angles of the battlefield. What had moments before been empty space now swarmed with human vessels. But these weren't the crude, retrofitted mining ships the Empire had expected. These were sleek, angular craft that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Their formations moved with mechanical precision, each ship perfectly positioned relative to its neighbors. "You see," Admiral Chen continued, her voice maintaining its conversational tone, even as the display of overwhelming force unfolded around them, "when you destroyed Lunar Base, you gave us something we hadn't had in decades: unity of purpose. Every human government, every corporation, every individual citizen focused on a single goal, ensuring this could never happen again." The tactical display updated again, showing the true scope of the human fleet. Ships stretched from one edge of the system to the other, arranged in a three-dimensional grid that defied traditional naval doctrine. Each vessel was connected to its neighbors by streams of data, creating a network that functioned like a single massive organism. "We didn't just build ships," Chen explained, as if reading his thoughts. "We rebuilt our entire civilization around the concept of asymmetric warfare. Every factory became a shipyard. Every citizen became a soldier. Every child learned to think like an engineer and fight like a philosopher." Admiral Kazthul watched in growing horror as his sensors revealed the true nature of the human fleet. These weren't just warships, they were mobile factories, research stations, and construction platforms. Even as they faced the Imperial forces, they were building more of themselves, each ship spawning smaller craft that immediately integrated into the greater formation. "Impossible," he whispered. "No species could coordinate such a massive force. The communication delays alone would be insurmountable using traditional methods," Chen agreed. "But we stopped thinking traditionally the moment you taught us that the universe wasn't as peaceful as we'd hoped." Her expression hardened. "We developed quantum entangled communication networks, distributed AI command systems, and manufacturing processes that would make our children proud to inherit." The human fleet began to move, not as individual ships, but as flowing rivers of coordinated force. They didn't charge forward in glorious battle formations instead. They flowed around the Imperial positions like water around stones, cutting off escape routes and communication lines with surgical precision. "Your empire has ruled through superior firepower and intimidation," Admiral Chen said, her image still crystal clear despite the chaos erupting around them. "But we've learned something in our short time among the stars. There's always someone with bigger guns. So we decided to become something different. Something you can't intimidate, can't outgun, and can't outrun." Admiral Kazthul's hands moved to his command console, but even as he prepared to give the order to attack, he realized the terrible truth. His ships were already surrounded, their weapons targeted by hundreds of human vessels. Every move they could make had been anticipated, every strategy countered before it could be employed. "What do you want?" he asked, the defeat clear in his voice. Admiral Chen's smile returned, but it wasn't cruel, it was almost sad. "We want what every parent wants, Admiral. We want our children to grow up in a universe where they don't have to be afraid. And sometimes, unfortunately, that means teaching bullies the consequences of their actions." The last thing Admiral Kazthul saw before his ship's systems shut down was the sight of human vessels moving past his disabled fleet, heading deeper into Imperial space. Not as conquerors, but as teachers carrying a lesson the Empire would never forget. Humanity's greatest weapon had never been their technology or their numbers. It was their absolute refusal to accept that anything was impossible.